Hello and welcome to the new TitlePLUS. I am Jamie Smith and I'll be taking you through an instructional video to show you exactly why TitlePLUS is now better than ever. From getting started to completing your first policy order, you'll be able to see all of the improvements that we've made, so why don't we just dive in. Our first important improvement is that our policy order website can now be accessed on all modern browsers, including Google Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge. So to get started, first head to TitlePLUS.ca. You'll find our brand new website here, full of resources and information for you and your clients to take a look at your leisure. But for now, I just want you to scroll down and take a look at the three main functions you're probably going to use most typically. At the bottom, you'll see File a Claim, which upon clicking, you'll be taken to an online proof of loss form for you to complete and submit. Next, you can get a quote online and access our online quote calculator if you ever have an upcoming deal and your client would like to have a ballpark idea of what they might be looking at in terms of the premium. But from here now, we're going to go ahead and select Order a Policy to be taken to our brand new policy order website. Upon landing on mytitleplus.ca, Ontario lawyers will use their Law Society number and password as their corresponding username and password. Once they click Login, you'll be taken to a registration screen where you'll be able to enter the details of any users who are associated and able to complete policy orders on the lawyer's behalf. Those associated users will receive an email to authenticate themselves and create their own usernames and passwords. There will also be an updated terms and conditions that each lawyer will need to click and agree to, as well as input any payment information that they would like to keep on file. Clerks and staff who are authorized to complete policy orders will look right underneath the login button to the selection that states "Don't have an account? Sign up." Upon clicking that, you will be asked for your first name, last name, to create a username, enter your email address, create a password, and then also select a question that you'll be asked if you ever forget your password. From here, you'll be sent a verification email that upon clicking will take you back to our user registration screen. Here you'll accept your own set of terms and conditions, and that will complete your account setup. Now you'll be ready to go ahead and complete your first policy order. Now that you've signed in, you'll be taken to our main page where you'll be able to view any past or current policy orders. If you head to the top right of the screen, you'll see the button that we're going to click to start a new order. Now that we've begun our new policy order, we're going to start plugging in the information that's asked. So first, we're going to start by entering our province and selecting a solicitor from the drop-down menu. Enter the phone number, client file number, and closing date. Continuing on, now we're going to enter some of the property details. So we're going to first select our transaction type. Is it a purchase resale, purchase new, and mortgage only for your refinances, and an existing owner policy. Then proceed on and select the property type. Another important update we've made is that now commercial policies can be ordered online as well. Continuing on, we're just going to keep plugging in the information that's asked. Once we get to the PIN, if you do need to add an additional PIN, maybe for condo transactions where there's a dwelling, a parking unit, as well as a storage unit, if you click the little plus sign, you'll be able to add an additional line to enter the additional PIN. Continuing on, we'll enter our legal description and address whether any portion of the property is in the registry system. Continue on to enter the land registry office. At this point, we've arrived at two important improvements to the new TitlePLUS. First, our policies have now been separated, so lawyers can apply for purchaser and lender coverage separately. With this, a borrower's lawyer may now apply for a policy for the lender. So go ahead and select who you're acting for and which policy you require. Proceeding on, we'll enter the purchase price and we'll address whether there is a mortgage involved in the transaction. Now let's start to enter our purchaser information. Go ahead and plug in their names, and if you do need to add an additional purchaser, then select the little plus sign that's in the gray box right above. That will add a second purchaser field, and you can enter their details. Next, you'll be asked if the mortgage will be insured by TitlePLUS. If you select yes, then you'll be able to proceed on and select which type of mortgage will be included. Whether it's an institutional mortgage, private lender, or a vendor take-back. We didn't do vendor take-backs before, now we do. Make the appropriate selection and go ahead and enter the lender name as well as the mortgage reference number. Finally, for this section, you'll enter the principal amount as well as the priority upon closing. From here, we'll be addressing some of the title issues. So first, we'll address if there's any mortgages remaining on title after closing. And from here, it's important to note another improvement and one of my personal favorites. Now there is a blanket exception across the policy that eliminates the need to enter any details of common title issues. So items like municipal bylaws, easements, rights of way, rights of reentry, covenants, conditions, restrictions, airport zoning regulations, notices, agreements. No need to enter the details on any of these any longer. The select few that we require some details on are listed here, and upon selecting any of them with the checkbox, a magic line pops up, and all we're looking for there is the instrument number. If there are multiple of the same type of issue, say for example a lien, then you check the box, enter the first instrument number on the line, separate by comma, and enter the next instrument number. Simple as that. Let's move on. Now we're going to be asked if we have a survey and if the property is waterfront. Go ahead and address those accordingly. Next, we'll start addressing some off-title issues. Here we'll be asked if any portion of the property will be tenanted on closing, and if realty taxes are to be paid to closing or an undertaking is to be obtained. Next is a question regarding water and sewage charges, and if the property is on private water or sewage services, then just go ahead and select NA, and you'll be asked 2 additional questions that pertain directly to that situation. If it's your typical municipal or city property, then you're just going to select yes. Now we'll address if any executions against the vendor and purchaser are to be resolved on or before closing. From here, we have an additional concerns free-form text box where we would like you to enter the details of any other title or off-title concerns that will not be remedied on closing. Just remember that this will automatically trigger a manual review of this policy order. The last 2 questions deal with fraud prevention and ask if the purchaser and or the vendor are represented by a real estate agent or broker. From here, we're going to be asked if there are any transfer or mortgage discharges registered within the last 6 months. So when it comes to entries in this policy order, we are now complete. So now we've approached the order summary where we're just going to be reviewing the policies that we're ordering, who they're being ordered for, and their amounts. Upon scrolling down, there will be a certificate of title that will need to be agreed to prior to submitting the order. If you notice in the top right corner, the premium is ready to go for us, and you can click Show Breakdown to show all the details that are contained in the premium. But from here, we're going to go ahead and select Submit Order. Now that your policy order is complete and your policy has been issued, you'll be able to view the different exceptions that have been listed on the policy. When you click the Exceptions drop-down, you'll see that the wording has been entered automatically for any instruments that you've included in your list. Underneath, you'll find any endorsements that have been added to the policy by clicking that drop-down arrow. If an insure over request had been granted, then by clicking that drop-down arrow, you'll see what underwriting has included in that regard as well. As we scroll down further, now it's time to view your policy documents. So you'll see the owner policy, which you can view and print by clicking on the button, which will open up a PDF document for you. Another important change is we no longer have an acknowledgement in direction. It is now referred to as our purchaser acknowledgement, which upon opening, again, will create a PDF document that you can print, download, and save, and have your client sign. This is meant to be used as a tool to help you go through the particulars of the policy order with your client. Schedule A will contain the details of the location as well as the policy as a whole, while Schedule B will contain the details of any endorsements or exceptions that have been added. Next, we'll take a look at our invoice by clicking to open yet again another PDF. On the invoice, you'll see the premiums for each individual policy, and had there been a private lender, you'll see an additional $150 surcharge added to the lender policy premium. Upon scrolling down a little bit further, you'll see that we've accounted for our legal counsel fee, and we list the net amount that is going to be debited from the firm's credit card or general account. Once again, you can print, download, and save, but just make sure you select the little X at the top left in order to head back to your documents. This policy order is complete. Another important change is that we no longer require firms or clerks to head back into the file after it's been closed to enter any registration details. If there ever needs to be a change to an order, at the bottom of the page to the left-hand side, you'll see a selection that says Change Order. This will allow you to edit any policy order, but just remember that you'll need to agree to the certificate of title once again and resubmit. So here's a quick rundown of some of the important changes to the new TitlePLUS. There will be one-step issuance of policies, so there's no longer any need to log into the system after closing to complete the issuance and enter registration details. It's no longer one policy. The new TitlePLUS has two separate policies, one for the owner and one for the lender, depending on your need. The user is no longer required to identify the type of mortgage in any policy order. Users no longer have to enter the details of any common title issues due to the blanket exception that's placed on the policy. So no longer do you have to enter the details of any municipal bylaws, easements, rights of way, rights of reentry, covenants, conditions, restrictions, airport zoning regulations, notices, agreements, and exceptions, or reservations of mineral rights registered on title. A borrower's lawyer may now apply for a policy for the lender. Vendor take-back mortgages will now be eligible for TitlePLUS coverage. On mortgage transactions, the borrower no longer has to sign a statutory declaration. Water potability tests are no longer required for owner policies. There are no longer any additional search requirements for residential properties over 2.5 million. Where the property is not an exception to subdivision control, users are only required to search the present vendor's ownership of abutting lands, not past owners. So, what'd I tell you? Simple, right? Fast, right? Let the fireworks pop, let the confetti fall. The new TitlePLUS is here. I'm Jamie Smith. It's been great. We can't wait till your first policy order with us. Take care.